Hey everyone, welcome to Feelings with the Geekiary, and it's a Queer Geek Cast crossover, so I have to get that right there in the beginning here. I'm Erin, and we have a lot of people here today, along with Admin Angel, Jamie, Stacey, Fareed. We're fans, we have feelings, this is where we webcast about them, and hey, it's the last weekend of Pride, you know, the month, not like forever, and
just no pride ever.
And it felt like a very weird month, so I just wanted to caveat that. So it's the last weekend, so we thought we'd do this crossover event and just talk about everything queer media. So Angel.
So yeah, you can join the conversation by following the hashtag Geekiary Feelings on Twitter. Or you can just comment below because we're a live YouTube show and you can do that. Also, a special shout out I want to do right now is that since this is a Queer Geek Cast crossover, you can also follow Queer Geek Cast on Twitter because that's my show. So we'll follow that on Twitter. Yeah.
Woo!
We would like to remind all of you that the views expressed on this webcast are those of the hosts as individuals and do not necessarily represent the Geekiary or the webcast itself as a whole, or Queer Geekcast, as this is a
yes.
Sorry, I was
Man, crossovers are hard.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you guys saw me, like my reaction, it was like right when the webcast went live, the fireworks went off outside my apartment, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
She's like,
yeah, I heard that. I'm like, what the heck? It's a firework phenomenon, which we were talking about before we went live.
I also almost had a disaster where I hit a cord and it almost knocked over my whole water on my computer.
Oh no!
So that happened also.
Speaking of disaster, you'll notice I'm not in my own apartment right now because my apartment, the floors are currently being torn up because the shower has leaked into the unit below mine, so I can't go home for a while. So I'm at a friend's house. So no Poe Dameron behind me to stroke lovingly this time. It is what it is.
2020, what is it? Come on.
Right? Why do we have to have a plumbing catastrophe in the middle of a pandemic? Like, come on.
That's just with everything, though. Why do we have to have anything? Why do we have to have a race upheaval
in the middle of a pandemic?
It's just like one thing after the other.
My goodness.
Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty more to discuss. Let's get the news out of the way first, man. Okay. First of all, don't forget about our Patreon. It's patreon.com/thegeekiary. Of course, you can give us money because it's fun. And then also, we have lots and lots of other videos and content on our YouTube channel. Be sure to check those out. Again, right now it's mostly our quarantine webcasts and free on everything. So it's fun. It is. It's fun. It's really fun. And also be sure to check out. Oh my gosh, this is so bad. I can't.
We'll get through it. We can do this. We can do this.
I'm gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this.
Take a cleansing breath. All right. Check out the Geekiary's news section. Let's talk about the biggest news from the past week. That.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I feel like I've only been writing about like Disneyland lately. I feel like 90% of my articles are Disneyland, but two news stories coming out of Disneyland this week. Splash Mountain is actually going to be rethemed. So if you remember, like last time we did a webcast, I was talking about the controversy about Song of the South and stuff like that. But turns out Disney is ahead of the game and has been in the works to retheme it for over a year. So it's not actually in response to the current pushback about, basically everything. Yeah, like everything. They've already been thinking about it, but I guess now's a good time to announce it. Be like, hey, no, we're totally on top of this. It's going to be Princess and the Frog, which I feel like theme-wise fits better in New Orleans Square, which is next door to it, like because it's New Orleans.
Right. So this is kind of where I have a question.
Yeah.
Because I get Splash Mountain, but it's like, first of all, Princess and the Frog, very cute, fun movie. But again, she does spend half of it as a frog, and like the better half of it as a frog. And yeah, she had cute little long eyelashes, but you're still a frog. So I'm like, I would have much more preferred it to be the New Orleans side, or at least connect them together, especially if they're right.
They can move the entrance because the line for Splash Mountain can wrap around and kind of go into New Orleans Square because Haunted Mansion is right next to it. So if they shift the entrance of Splash Mountain to New Orleans Square, it can become a New Orleans Square ride. But the problem with that is that then Critter Country only has Winnie the Pooh and like some shops down in that corner, and no one's going to ever go back there again. I guess so. That's going to be like
Critter Country is dumb anyway. So it's fine.
I agree.
I've never been to Disneyland, so this is all sounds ridiculous to me. Because in Disney World, which I imagine they're retheming both, right? Makes sense. Yeah, I was like in Disney World. Splash Mountain is in Frontierland, but it's across the street from, or not across. It's like across the way, and like so it's
I don't
like
know how that's gonna fit.
Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is there. And Tom Sawyer Island is there. That kind of like
that's probably what they should get rid of.
Oh God!
Well,
honestly,
I mean, okay. As somebody who visits a lot of Disney parks a lot, I really don't care if it fits into the theme or not. I mean, really, I don't care. Whatever.
Well, and
I mean,
also
if you really
have to figure, how did Song of the South fit into Frontierland in the first place?
Yes.
I was Song of the South there.
Exactly. Everybody. That's been one of the most frustrating parts about this for me, is reading all these people talking about how iconic it is as a ride. And Angel, I know you talked about how your history with it and everything. It's only been around since 1989. Like, it's not a huge staple in a lot of older people's childhoods. And so, like, okay, it's iconic because it's one of the mountains and it's a wet ride, but like, is it really iconic?
They were trying to bury Song of the South in the 80s. They didn't want to acknowledge it at that point already.
Exactly.
So make a ride in the 80s for a movie you're trying to ignore and pretend that you never made.
Yeah,
So
it
makes sense.
I had a friend that was trying to be like, well, it's like people now don't even know what it is, and I'm like, right. So then it shouldn't matter if they retheme it, since nobody knows what. Like, the only reason I know who the characters are in Splash Mountain is because I used to get all those Disney sing-along videos that they put out in like the 80s and 90s, and Zippity Doodah was on one of them. That's all I know. I've never seen Song of the South. They don't have that on video. It's not on Disney Plus. So like, why would you want a movie like? But also the thing is, like, having been to, like, again, never been to Disneyland, but I've been to Disney World a bunch, and like retheming rides is just something Disney does. Like, this isn't even the first time it's happened, so I don't know why anybody gives a crap. Like, well, I don't know if it's still there, but in Tomorrowland, there's a Lilo and Stitch encounter thing. I don't know if it's still there.
It's not like, there anymore.
Okay, well, there was, and it was like, like it's an encounter. It's not a ride. It's like a thing you go in, and like Stitch is in a tube and he escapes, and then it's like all this like, oh, air blows behind you, so you think he's like behind you and all that kind of stuff. Before that was Lilo and Stitch. That was like a random alien, like not Disney related at all. And then they rethemed it to Lilo and Stitch after Lilo and Stitch came out. And so it's like, it makes sense that they want to keep updating it for like their current, like,
they're retheming an entire land for Marvel at Disney's California Adventure. Hollywood Land is no longer going to be Hollywood Land. It's going to be the Marvel or the Avengers campus thing. Like, so retheming is,
Exactly, because it's not that it's iconic, it's that it's nostalgic. And not everything that is nostalgic, especially in this country, is good. So there's some things that can just be a fond memory, and that's just fine. I mean, I was thinking about Universal Studios. You were talking about when we were there, the Simpsons ride then became the Minions. And there was something else that, like, it was like Jurassic Park, but they just changed it to something else. So I'm like, no, it's fine. You're gonna be
Universal
okay.
Studios, because if you've been to Diagon Alley in Universal Studios, that used to be something else, and I have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think she froze.
Well, Jamie will come back eventually.
Jamie's been taken by a firework.
Yeah, Tarina76 says we overvalue nostalgia. It's Western expressionism worth.
And I'm like, Splash Mountain, not even that really great of a ride. Like, it's a river, and then you go up, and then you go down, and you get wet, and that's like the ride. So it's not like.
Yeah, I actually like that Disney understands the issues with Princess and the Frog, and they are trying what they can to mend it. Because I think I read an Angels article or someone else's that the retheme, even though it's Princess and the Frog, there's a new story.
Yes, it's going to take place after the film, so she's not going to actually be a frog on the ride. It takes place. It's their first Mardi Gras. So it's,
that's cute.
So they're humans. They're which really doesn't fit Critter Country at all. So I really hope they shift it over to New Orleans where
Poop's gonna get some beignets, some honey glazed beignets, and he'll be just fine.
Oh my god, I want beignets.
Wouldn't that be good?
I have another Disney story though. Anything else on this one before I go to the other Disney story?
I just want to say that all these people that are saying like Frontier Land is bad, I completely agree. I hate the Frontier theme. I hate it. If I didn't have to walk through it to get from stupid Adventureland to Fantasyland, that would not bother me one bit.
I enjoy Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, but I feel like that can be rethemed.
Yeah. But what's wild, what drives me crazy when we talk about things being iconic, things being nostalgic, is so much of that is propaganda. What's the quote? Something about like when you have the story and the legend, you print the legend. It's I was talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about black cowboys. And of course on Instagram, there was this whole thing. And it turns out like most of the cowboys back in the day were Black or they were Mexican, right? And because those were the people who knew how to herd cattle and how to kind of do those things. It wasn't until later that it was like a cool thing, which of course. So also
it was popularized by Hollywood movies, and of course back in like the 20s and 30s.
Exactly.
They're not putting Black people in the movies, so
exactly. And it's like a protagonist or a hero, and so it's like, who do you cast in these, positions? And so it's this thing that has gone on. So when I was young, all I knew was Black cowboys, and like when we went to the rodeo, it was like all Black people, but we were in that kind of a county. So then when I started like watching the movies, I was like, what? Where? Hey, what happened? I'm sure it was here somewhere, And so I like this idea of people are kind of in the butthurt stage of their feelings of, we're losing our history, because not just with these rides, but like with monuments and statues that are being torn down and replaced. Like, we're losing our history. And I'm like, no, we're finally getting a chance to see the real history. Yeah. Let's celebrate that.
Yeah, because you can learn history in a book, in a museum. You can learn it in a classroom. You don't need to have a monument honoring them. You don't need a ride honoring a movie with a racist past.
I don't learn crap from statues anyway. Does anybody learn anything from statues other than my dad?
I can just imagine being on the Song of the South ride and then at the end being like, you know what? Black lives do matter.
I was just gonna say, like, I know, Angel, you were saying that you've seen Song of the South, and you know, we've talked about Song of the South and stuff, but my experience, and probably everyone I know, is very similar to Jamie's experience, which is I've never seen the movie, I don't know anything about it, I just know it's like live action and cartoon, and then Zippy Doo Dah is in it. So do we really need a whole ride about that?
Yeah.
No.
I specifically sought it out because it was forbidden. Like, I have a thing where I want to see the forbidden stuff. Like, I've seen the old Nazi Donald Duck cartoons, which also exist, which Disney likes to pretend it never happened. I've seen those. Yeah, like, if it's forbidden, I want to find it. But a couple quick things. There's comments, people watching this right now. Someone says PG rated Mardi Gras. In New Orleans Square, actually, they accidentally left something not PG up. There's little like spikes on the poles, which were to keep men from climbing up the poles in New Orleans to get to the topless ladies. So actually, it's not so PG. They didn't know what they were for, and they were just trying to emulate New Orleans and left in this thing. Number two, someone says Tiana is friends with Gator and Fireflies, so it kind of fits the Critter Country theme. Which Splash Mountain currently does have gators and fireflies, so they can just reuse those animatronics.
There you go.
Kind of like they did with America Sings with the current Splash Mountain, where they just picked up the robots from one ride and put them on the other. They can do that with the fireflies and the alligators too.
Yeah, I mean, these animatronics for Splash Mountain aren't even original to Splash Mountain. Come on,
they just pulled them from another ride.
Let me tell you what really made an impact on me, and this is how I know. Like, this is, y'all know, I get it. I understand the nostalgia of it, and the past. We don't want to let it go. I am old enough to remember when Showbiz Pizza was the thing. Yep. And everybody's like, Chuck E. Cheese. I'm like, Chuck E. Cheese was a character in Showbiz Pizza. Okay, don't get it twisted. And so when I hear like people, I heard a Showbiz Pizza reference, and I was like, oh, but then I was like, do I need my nieces and nephews and the children of the world to know about Showbiz Pizza? I don't want them knowing about Chuck E. Cheese. I sure don't care about Showbiz Pizza. So it's like, come on, guys, we're good.
Well, let's go on to Angel's other Disney news. Which before I let you get there, though, I feel like we're gonna need to have a whole Disney webcast at some point, because
for sure,
we end up taking like half of the webcast every time just talking about Disney. So
for sure,
go on with your Disney news.
So last episode, I also talked about how Disneyland was going to be reopening on its 65th anniversary on July 17th, and I'm a little worried about this and know a lot of people that work there. Well, guess what? That's no longer going to happen. The opening of Disneyland has been pushed back to an undefined date. Largely, I mean, the excuse they're saying is that it's because they haven't gotten approval from the governor yet. But honestly, I think it's because of the pushback from the employees and the unions.
Because of the OC.
Just this morning, I had some friends take place in a protest around Disneyland where they drove around like the outside of the park in their cars, like honking and like with signs and stuff. It was pre-planned before the decision was already made to delay the opening of the park, but they still went ahead with the protest anyway, because it's not safe.
Let them know.
Safe. But the thing is, well, Disney World is still scheduled to be opened with no delay in sight, but Florida is one of the 3 hardest hit states right now. It is Florida, Texas, and Arizona. And, Disney World's in Florida, one of the 3 top places right now. It's still scheduled to be open mid-July.
It's wild. One of the reasons that Arizona is such a hotbed is the native populations there are getting decimated with it. And this will actually be one of the shout outs, so I'll talk about it more later. But it's wild seeing the people. I'm gonna shout out this account on Instagram called Karen's Gone Wild. I'm telling everyone about it. It's amazing.
I'm gonna go follow that. That sounds amazing.
It'll make you mad, but there's some of them that you just get that justice. You're like, yes. But you see these OCers, these women who go to the thing, they're like, my liberties are being infringed upon and I can't breathe. And I'm like, do you want to be in a situation that's comparable to the ones where the people who said that first, the people who said I can't breathe first, actually couldn't breathe. Like, do you want us to show you what it's like to not be able to breathe? Because you need to put that away. Like, it's just such a weird, this consternance, where you're just like, why are we doing this? Yeah. And that's, I was like, yeah, that's probably why. I don't know if you're talking about California, if you're talking about Florida, but
California is delayed opening. Florida has not delayed opening, but honestly, both Orange County and Florida have a lot of entitled Karens. I feel like California as a state overall is more responsible, like with their lockdowns and policies, but Orange County is this weird little red bubble of conservatism. And
Orange County
I
was
grew
the
up in
Florida
Orange
California.
County. I was born and raised in Orange County. Like, I know what it's like there. And Florida has been irresponsible at the government level and also has a bunch of entitled people. So the situation's similar but different, in both. So we'll see how that plays out.
I say like 10,000 times a day, I hate white women, and I am a white woman. Yeah. So like, I totally get that. And I want to add to, I think, I do have some friends who work at Disney or are adjacent in Florida, and from what I understand, they are like not expecting for a delay in the reopening. Like they've gotten too far, I think, in the reopening. And it's just not going to happen. I also think there are fewer union employees at Disney World than in Disneyland. And I think pretty much the only union employees that work at Disney World are the actual like actors. And so I don't really know.
Well, are they going to try to do the mask optional thing?
Right now, it's mandatory.
Okay.
In the Disney park, which people are flipping out about. And I wrote a whole article like a few weeks ago that was Disney says to the Karens, wear a mask. Because Disney was very straightforward in their rules that you had to wear a mask. And I can't remember how they worded it, but they basically said that if you're not going to, don't come. And I'm just like, wow, Disney, you're throwing down. Like,
that was my initial question. I was like, who was going to go? But then I was like, no, to prove a point, they'll go.
I don't want to go. I don't want to wear a mask all day long in the hot humidity. I'm just not going to go.
Soon. It is 7 weeks of vaccine, honestly. I don't need to go to Disneyland that badly.
Well, and so go ahead.
What does enforcement look like at Disney World? Like, how are they even going to...
I don't know, because Disney has to be like happy and preppy. So how are you going to confront a Karen and be like, put on your mask, please?
Oh, they will. They will. They will. And
I love it.
So yeah, you can get in big trouble at Disney if you don't do what they say. We'll just say that. But they Josh Tomorrow is the new director of the parks. He just got promoted like a few months ago, I think, when they had all that executive shakeup. And he's a thirst trap, and you can find all about that on Twitter. But like,
all right,
that's something separate from what I'm about to say, which is look him up. He's but he is one of those types of people that is very like, yes, we know that Disney has magic and whatever, but like, we don't want you to be unsafe. We have, we have a responsibility to you to keep you healthy while you're here. And so I think that they will crack down on you if you're not following the mandatory mask rules. Maybe, I mean, a lot of times if you break the rules at Disney, you get a lifetime ban. They may do that. I don't know. That would be amazing.
Conspiracy just
for the rest of us.
And a bunch of Karens.
Is this the thirst trap guy?
Yeah. Look at the teeth.
Yeah. Twitter loves him. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I just think that putting him in charge of the parks has been a very good move, and he's handling everything pretty good, in my opinion. I mean, there's no easy way to do this. Let's be real. So,
Marina's comment: Cinderella telling a little girl, "Your mommy is a dangerous murderer for not wearing a mask." Bibbity bobbity boo, bitches.
That is correct.
That's fantastic.
Bibbidi bobbidi bitch.
All right, let's move on from Disney, people.
So I had one piece of news. I didn't write about it on the blog because I never write about my news pieces. Why would I do that? But I did. I tweeted about it. So earlier this week, geeks in New York were pouring one out because the way station. Like, I don't really drink. You guys know I'm not a huge drinker, so I don't really have like a favorite bar that I go to all the time. But if I had one, it would be the Way Station. It's a bar in Brooklyn. It's like a steampunk theme, but it's a Doctor Who bar. Because the way the bathroom is constructed, it's bigger on the inside. And so they made the bathroom a TARDIS because it's bigger on the inside. And they had a whole menu of Doctor Who themed drinks, and they would have Doctor Who watch parties. And like the cast has been there, and they've actually signed inside the bathroom. Like, it was a big deal. And because of COVID, they're closing permanently, which is obviously very sad for a lot of us. My friends were like, everybody's really upset. They always do like really cool things. And so tonight I have, hold on, I gotta get it. I have a sonic screwdriver, because that's their one of their signature drinks. It's a screwdriver, but it's sonic. So it's basically like, if you guys want to make them at home, make it at home. It's a screwdriver, which is orange juice and vodka, and then blue curacao, which is an orange liqueur, and that's what makes it blue. I didn't do a very good job with this one, but if you pour it right, it like settles all at the bottom, and it looks really cool.
Yeah,
so.
It looks good. You got a little gradient going on.
Who doesn't love blue carousel? I mean, come on. That's just like.
There's also one.
It's just fun.
They make, this is the 10th Doctor version, and then there's an 11th Doctor version with a green liquor. I don't remember what that is. I was like, I don't know a whole lot of
Probably Midori.
I would say Midori or creme de menthe.
Okay.
Oh God, hopefully not creme de menthe with orange juice.
Yeah, because
Give it
it's
a
like
little
so.
minty kick.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know a whole lot about liquor, so I'm like, I can't sit here and be like, oh, the green light, it's green, because then it goes green at the bottom. So,
okay,
but, pouring one out for the Way Station.
Tarina said she misses the Way Station too.
We did lose Stephanie Angel temporarily. She will be back.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone's just having all these great tech issues. And I also heard some fireworks just now. So
first, a quick diversion. Freedom, loving this shirt. What's happening here? Look, I like it. It's like, wait, what happened? I like it. It's very pretty. It's a nice little purple with the little sleeves.
Yeah, I just pulled the sleeves up
no one told you to show off the guns now.
Oh yeah.
Chef's kiss.
All right. Oh, here she is. She's
also talking about the Way Station, Jamie. I remembered Stonewall was closing as well, and they had to have.
I think he froze.
They ended up raising more than $50,000 to keep it going.
Oh,
or
good.
else the Stonewall pub would have been like done due to COVID.
Yeah.
Where is the Stonewall pub in terms of like New York? Which boroughs are there?
It's in Manhattan. It's in the Village.
Is that lower or upper?
Lower.
Lower. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's around where NYU is, which is on like in like down in there.
Why is it going under? You'd think it'd be more popular.
I mean, everything's closed.
Oh, of course. Sorry.
We only opened. I don't think they've opened in-person dining yet. In New York,
Mm-hmm.
they just opened up. like
a few
sidewalk dining.
places. Yeah, we have a few places where you can go and they have like cordoned off sections, and then they disinfect everything and all that jazz.
Yeah.
But it's not wide yet, thankfully.
Well, bars have temporarily, I mean, because, you know, we have open container laws in NYC, but I think they temporarily suspended them because a lot of bars have been able to have sidewalk, like, to-go drinks.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I have not been doing that because people are supposed to get the drink and go home, and people are getting their drink and hovering and congregating, which defeats the whole purpose of the to-go drink.
Stupid young white people.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody.
Yep.
With drinking and talking.
Anyway, let's move on to our discussion, which is basically our favorite queer media from the past year. And this could be new or new to us. So anything, really. I know we have it. I kind of messed up on the document here a little bit, and I just put my stuff under Angel's TV stuff. So let's go and do this by category. I think that might be a little bit easier. And so.
Oh shit! You messed up my thing.
Yep, I did. So
yes, I just now noticed.
That's why I said we'll just do it that way because I like it better. That's why I messed it up. Let's start with movies because there's not a lot of real good representation in film. Let's be honest. So, do we have any films that would fall under this category?
There's one that I haven't seen, but I think Stacey has because she has it listed as well. And I want to watch it. Disclosure. You've seen that, yeah?
So I've gone in and out. I've watched various parts of it, but what I have seen, I want to say it's a documentary basically. Just about the trans experience and entertainment and that kind of thing. And so you have lots of different trans icons that it's very inspiring and it's very hopeful, while at the same time kind of holding the, feet to the fire on it. And so I would definitely recommend it, as it's a good watch.
Yeah, I watched it. It was good. It's a documentary. I mean, people should watch it because a whole lot of movies, even if Hollywood was offering trans representation, that wasn't good representation. And it actually ended up doing harm to the transgender community because of how those characters were depicted in certain films. So it's a good look at history, at how media has been portraying.
Well, again, it's not enough. And so you end up with the same type of representation. And then it's almost always male to female, so you see, trans women and these very like, oh, she's a prostitute, oh, she's an escort, oh, she's, this, that, and the other. And then you rarely get the other experience, or when you do, then it's absolutely kind of like unmentioned and not kind of talked about. And so it has a long way to go.
My movie would be another. It's available on Netflix. It's Eurovision, the movie. It's a comedy film.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it stars Will Ferrell with Rachel McAdams and Dan Stevens from Downton Abbey, and it's a mess because Eurovision
is.
Dan Stevens from Legion. That's who I know him from. But anyway, yeah.
I'll say it's so funny because I literally just saw an ad for that on Instagram today, and I was like, if you're a Eurovision stan, you will love this movie. I can't stand Eurovision. And so I was like, there's too much of looking at me. I don't want a movie looking at me and addressing me. Just see. And then Rachel McAdams and whoever did her voice. And I was like, I can't deal with this. But I instantly tagged like 3 Eurovision people, and they were like, oh my God. It's like, okay.
It's amazing, Stacey, because they actually have actual Eurovision singers do cameos in the film. And that scene that scene where cameo after cameo after cameo, I was like, yeah, Netflix paid all of these people.
Netflix sent out the call. They were like, "Look, you get in here, you get in here." See, I think it's going to be a really loving tribute. I think it will be a comedy, but I think it's going to be a loving tribute, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
And it's made by American people who aren't even part of Eurovision.
Exactly, but they know when they see it. Eurovision. I was actually waiting for someone to do a Eurovision movie because it's just like, why not?
Insane.
Oh,
Like the movie writes itself.
Yeah, as far as queer representation goes, they actually have Dan Stevens' character who is representing Russia. He's queer. And there's this entire little arc about how he can't be out because it's not possible to be queer in Russia. And he tells Rachel McAdams' character, like, Russia doesn't have any queer people. It's all 100% straight people. And Rachel McAdams is like, that's not statistically possible, but okay.
He's like, no, of course not.
and she's like, are you, okay, so you aren't gay, so are you like gender non-conforming? Are you non-binary? And he's like, no, only he, him pronouns. Only he, him pronouns.
That's amazing. So,
but yeah, it's on Netflix. It's basically for free. If you have a Netflix subscription, go watch it.
Speaking just of queer culture in general, there is a new movie. It's a documentary. It's called You Don't Know Me, NOMI, and it's the story of showgirls and the hot mess that that movie was. And so I've heard great things about it. I haven't actually seen it yet, but it's definitely on the watch list. So check that out.
Another film I want to do a shout out for is Downton Abbey. It had a little storyline, queer storyline. But for those of us who are fans of the show, it was a little bit of a fan service where Thomas, finally maybe is getting his happy ending. And it was just really sweet. And I like that made it into the film because that's a huge part of the journey in the TV show is Thomas's whole character arc and dealing with his sexuality and everything. And so I just want to give that, again, film, not a lot of great representation.
They were this close to ruining that moment at the end. They were this close. But then the writers were like, no, you know what? We're going to leave it at a happy ending. We are not going to lose. We are not going to destroy this.
Well, you know what? I don't know what happened because I haven't seen it yet. I actually need to catch up on Downton Abbey, so I'm going to do that before I see the movie. But just in general, there were so many times during that show, I'm like, did you have to be gay now? It's like, I want you to be happy, Thomas. Do you have to be gay now? But it reminds me of Hollywood and the Ryan Murphy one. And I was watching it, and throughout, like about halfway through, I said, oh, this is a fairy tale. And I'm like, this is not anything, I can't grasp onto this because this is wild, this has nothing to do with reality at all. And it just made me sad because I was like, if only we could have had, some sort of ending, like if this were a forgotten history, I think I would like it, much more. But this idea that everything works out in the end and people are progressive and the old people die, that kind of stuff. And it's like, oh, yeah.
I gave it a bad review.
I wouldn't recommend that. I was like, I wouldn't recommend Hollywood.
Don't watch this.
Jim Parsons grew on me until the very, very end. But I was like, what are you doing in this role? And then I was like, okay, I'm here with you. But then he just got crazy.
But yeah, I don't think any movies came out this year. Any queer movies? I don't think any queer movie is coming out this year. So
yeah, we're not getting a lot. I
can't think of any movies.
We got like the 30 seconds of gay and Endgame.
I haven't
I guess
seen movies.
Portrait of
I'm very
Woman
bad
on
about
Fire.
but I wanted to watch. I mean, it came out last year, and I can't remember exactly when it came out. But Benjamin, which stars Colin Morgan, I heard very good things about that. I haven't seen it yet though, which is terrible because ordinarily I'd be on top of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. All right, movies, abysmal. Let's move on. Let's talk about Angel. You have a little note here. Music, Chromatica. Let's talk about Chromatica.
Yeah,
please.
Well,
Thank you.
I wanted to add it because it felt like a very queer positive album, even though it's not explicitly queer. Lady Gaga herself is bisexual. Ariana Grande does not like labels. She's something. And then Elton John is Elton John.
Right.
And then I don't know anything about Blackpink, but I know that K-pop in general has a lot of like, I don't know what's up with the fandom. Yeah. I don't know enough to comment on it, but like basically the album is very celebratory, and I wish that we weren't all stuck at home this June so we could all be at the clubs, celebrating Pride to that music, but we're not, so we got to listen to it at home.
Well, I love Chromatica. I wrote a review about it on the site, and every single song on it is dance, like it's upbeat, and which is a little bit unusual. Not completely, but a little unusual for Lady Gaga to have that on the whole album. And another thing, excuse me, that I was going to say is there's that that transition from Chromatica 2 into 911 that we've talked about before.
Yeah, so good.
Which everyone is like, that transition made me gay. Okay, so what does that mean? I don't really know what it means, but I get it. And also, also there's that new like meme now on Twitter where people have been like superimposing that transition onto scenes from like film or TV shows. And that is literally my favorite thing on Twitter right now.
So the Poison Ivy one.
Yeah, that Poison Ivy one is good. And I'm just like, the more I get to hear that transition and put it into different contexts, the happier I will be in general. So that is what I would like to say about that. Does anybody else have any music, iconic sort of status, or any other comments about Chromatica?
I'm good.
No. I mean, I did a reaction video. It was fun. My favorite song is like the one she's Sign of Love, the one she sang with Ella. I can't get enough of it. The ending is a bit, what the heck just happened?
Dropped like randomly for the last 20 seconds.
But I wasn't expecting Elton's voice to complement Gaga's voice so well. Like those two singing together, I was like, ooh, this is good.
Right.
Queer just released a single, and like called "Finally Love," something like that. I'm trying to look it up very quickly, but it's very nice little, anthem, Pride anthem for the month. So I would definitely check that out.
I think Chromatica was really great because this is definitely a different feeling of Pride. And the night that came out was the same night that a lot of riots were happening. And so we were watching this news, and a reminder, Pride started as a riot, and it's a very good reminder that is part of our history. But watching Lady Gaga's song titles start to trend with all the riot news on Twitter was a really interesting night. Like, I don't know, it was a strange feeling to watch that unfold on Twitter.
All right. So we're done with music. I want to throw in something that nobody else put on, but I just thought of something that I want to talk about, and that is games. So
Is it The Last of Us?
if
Yeah.
you watch, well, I'm not talking about that.
Oh.
But
I don't know about it.
no, it's fine. If you have watched this webcast at any point in the past few months, I play a lot of Animal Crossing, and Animal Crossing, you know, seems like very kind of almost juvenile. It's fine, but like I've heard that the developers who were put in charge of it really wanted everything to be kind of non-binary so that you weren't put into these gender restrictions. And so all of the characters, not the villagers, but the characters that you create for yourself, your avatar, nothing is specifically male or female. Like you can use any hairstyle, any you know, face, like eyelash dudes, you know, you can use those on any gender. The males can wear dresses, the females can wear suits, you know, it's all just it's really fun because I love to give Raymond dresses to wear. Raymond is like this cat that has glasses, and he's a fashion designer. And he will wear whatever you give him. So if you give him dresses, I gave him an 80s power suit, like an 80s power dress suit one time. And
Cute.
he wears that a lot. And I just love it. And it's just one of those little things that, you know, as you're playing, you're like, you appreciate it. You appreciate not having had it in the past. And then when you're playing it now, you're like, this is really fun. This is really cool. And I'm glad that it's there. So yeah, I just wanted to do an honorable mention to Animal Crossing. So yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about games, the biggest queer game that came out this year is The Last of Us Part 2. And I wrote an article about it. If you guys want to read it, it's on the Geekiary, the review. I played it. It's like around 10 to 11 hours to completely finish it. It's a long game. Of course, it ended up experiencing a whole lot of homophobia and bigotry online because the lead character is I guess, yeah, I think she's queer. Either she's lesbian or she's bisexual. I'm not really sure, but she ain't straight. So yeah, and also what I want to say is, regardless of whether you like this game or not, the good thing is that all of the homophobia, all of the backlash that the game received before the release, it basically didn't do anything to the sales. And as of now, The Last of Us is the highest selling game for the PlayStation 4, an exclusive title, and it ended up selling more than like 4 million units in 3 days.
Oh my God.
People are talking about we want the graphic novel, we want the book, we want the novel, we want the movie, we want the TV series. So I don't even know what it's about, but I always hear all about
HBO
it.
is making a series. HBO is making a series of it.
They are making a series.
The homophobes got mad and unintentionally
they got bad.
it.
And then as usual, they ended up like moving the goalpost. They were like, oh, okay, so 4 million copies sold. How many people are going to burn those copies? I was like, what?
What does it matter if they've already bought it? Like, do you not understand the point of a boycott?
That's what always cracks me up when
You
people
don't want to buy it.
Yeah, and it's like, yeah, what are you doing? Like, try to return it. What are you doing?
We had something. This is completely unrelated, but in the realm of stupid boycott. When I was in high school, we did a spring musical every year, and my freshman year of high school, we did Damn Yankees. And I don't know if you know the plot of Damn Yankees, but it's about a guy, an old guy that sells his soul to the devil to be able to play ball for his favorite baseball team. And I am from rural Pennsylvania, which is very, very Christian. And people, well, first of all, my high school mascot was the Blue Devils, so I don't know what people were uppity about. But there was so many people that were just like, you cannot do this musical. Like, I don't know if it was like the swear word in the title or the fact that like the devil is a character. But people were like, you cannot do this. And so like some of the like Karens, I guess, like staged a walkout. Like, and so they bought tickets and then like in the middle of like one of the songs or whatever, got up and walked out. And I'm like, well, one, we sold out, so thank you for helping us sell out. And I was like, and two, we can't see you on stage because it's light, so it didn't affect us at all. And I'm like, and also, way to be like complete jackasses to like 16-year-old kids. Like,
I was gonna say, like, a school production, that seems a little not. That seems dumb.
Yeah,
that's funny.
it was my high school. It was just like.
I was trying to get some receipts real quick, but I can't find them. But evidently, within Animal Crossing, I don't know. She was saying that this was one of her characters was having conversation with another character. I'm poor. I want to join Animal Crossing Legion so badly. I'm just like, I can't afford it. But she was having a conversation with some character, and it was like, if defunding the police doesn't mean destructuring the system, and also and it was so cute. It's like, all lives can't matter until Black lives matter.
Animal Crossing surprises me sometimes with stuff like that. Like, you have to walk up to like two villagers that are already having a conversation, and you walk up to them and you pan back and forth, and they are hilarious and random and totally irrelevant. You're just like, what is happening? So great.
I love it.
All right, let's move on to comics now, because I know that's a big one for us. So, Angel, you take it away.
I'm going to be talking about the same thing I've been talking about repeatedly on these webcasts over and over and over again. My good old Chinese comics, the manhua. There's 2 running right now that I'm reading, and they're both by the same author. They're based on her books. The artists are different for the comics, though, and also the manhua scrubs off some of the gay because they can't get it through
China
censorship problems.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll never understand how the books can be so super, super gay, but then the comics are not.
As is my understanding, the books were published before the law got really strict. So the books were sort of like grandfathered in, I think, and then everything that's come out after has to be cleansed.
She's writing a new book though, and that's gonna probably be pretty gay too. So I don't quite know how this is gonna work. But anyway, the 2 that I'm following, it's Mo Dao Zushi, which you've heard me talk about a lot, and we'll talk about the TV show later because I know Jamie wrote down the TV show. And then Heaven Official's Blessing, which is the one that I talked about a lot last week, and we were talking about shipping, and I had Hualian as my ship. So those are the 2 I'm following right now. The art is great in both. Same author. I'm obsessed, and I talk about it constantly. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. It sounds cool.
So like 4 days ago, I was browsing Anime News Network, and there was an article about a new anime coming out in July by the name The Titan's Bride. And I was looking at the imagery, and there were 2 dudes on it, and I was like, where is the bride? So I clicked on the article. And then apparently, it's based on the manga by the name The Titan's Bride. And the entire premise is that a young human man has to figure out how to bottom for a giant without dying. And that's the
Send me the link.
I'm going to read this one.
all of the available chapters in one night, and my life has not been the same.
Patience, my friend. Patience.
I know what I'm reading next. Thank you, Furry. That just jumped up my list.
That is an amazing rec.
Because they need a child. And he's like, how am I supposed to give birth to a child? And the giant is like, we will figure it out. You have to.
So there's impreg.
I was like, what?
I've heard hysterical like this. There's a
and
fic.
the anime comes out in July, and there will be a non-explicit version and also an explicit version for premium members. So yeah,
the non-explicit version is going to be 5 pages.
Yeah, like the plot is a guy having to bottom. Like this. How do you make that up?
maybe they
sanitize that.
in the anime, who knows? But the explicit version, let's see how far the animation goes with it.
I'm here for this.
That's amazing. We might need to do a cast just about that.
Considering the giggling that went on, like when you were talking about that, I think you might be right because there's a lot of giggling. Any other comics?
No.
Well, I mean, I guess I could. I recommended it. It was one of my Wednesday webcomics a month or so ago. It's on Webtoon, which I love. Webtoon is free. Everybody should get an account. But it's called The Doctors Are Out, and it's about a veterinarian and like a general practitioner that have similar last names. They're both Hispanic last names, and they're very similar. They're like one letter off, and the veterinarian opens up a practice right next to the general, like to the doctor, and so it causes confusion because like for a while like people are taking their pets to the doctor and like going to the veterinarian, and so
Where do the furries go?
So basically like they are immediate rivals because of this, it's like, and it's not very far into it yet, but it's just very cute. The doctor is a single dad, and the veterinarian just got out of a bad breakup, and he moved to the town. That's why he opened the new practice, and the only place that he can find to live is right next door to the doctor. And so, it's very cute so far. I really enjoy it. There's a lot of good stuff on Webtoon. I could probably I could recommend a lot of good queer webtoons, but they're not like from the last year or so. But read my Wednesday webcomic. Well, I meant like even they're not even new to me because I've already.
Oh well.
But if you go through the Wednesday webcomic tag on Geekiary, I have recommended quite a few of them. So.
All right, people. I think we've gotten to that point where we're going to talk about TV. So, I mean, TV, this makes sense because TV is generally, they're constantly writing all the time. And so it's a lot easier, I should say, to include relevant storylines and change storylines around. And so obviously this is where we're going to spend the bulk of the time because it has the most representation. So I don't know who wants to start. So
The Untamed.
Just start.
Yeah, let's go with Untamed since we already talked about Modao Zushi, which is the animated book and comic version of The Untamed. But Jamie, you got it.
Today is the 1-year anniversary of the Untamed starting airing. So there was a big they had the Untamed week on Tumblr. If you follow me on Tumblr, 80% of my posts are the Untamed. But it's Angel and I have talked about it before. It's obvious
a lot
because it's filmed in China, it's Chinese cast and everything. So it's very PG. Of this story.
They scrub a lot of the gay off, but they still kept the line. They have the line about being soulmates, so you can still see it like.
Yeah, it's very it's not overt. Like they don't kiss, they have sex or anything like that. But there's a lot of very they played it as romantic. The actors played it that way. The direct they read the book, they knew what the story was, so they played it that way. They just couldn't make it in your they couldn't make it obvious. But it's obvious for homophobes. It's pretty obvious if you ship anything on TV ever. They're very obvious. Well, at least Wan Wangji is in love with Wei Wuxian. Obviously, that's clear from the beginning. But I really love the show. It's zhangzhe, which is a genre in China which combines mystical with kung fu and sword fighting. It's a really the story in the TV show is slightly different from the one in the novel and in the donghua, which and the manhua. But it's a really good story. Like, the music is amazing. It's a very visually, like, gorgeous show. CGI is not that great, but the cast is, like, ridiculously pretty, so it makes up for that. Like, everybody's attracted on this show. There's, like, no unattractive people. Yeah, it's just, I'm ridiculously obsessed with it. And there's also, if you want, like, it's on Netflix. It's 50 episodes. But there's also the special edition, which is 20 episodes. You can find that on YouTube on the 10 Cent official YouTube channel, which is like the condensed version, and it's just like the Wang Jan scene. Like, it's just like it removes every bit of the story that's not like
love
that.
story.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Nice.
probably not going to make sense because they cut out so much of the story. Like,
We'll put
but
it
you can at
together.
least look at the pretty. Yeah, it's like you don't have to. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. And the genre is also the genre for the two comics I recommended earlier, which Modazushi is the same story, except they changed it. They changed it a bit for the show. But Heaven Official's Blessing is also that, like, mystical and kung fu and sword fighting stuff. So same genre. And once you get into this genre, you can't get out of it. Like, I'm so deep in
There's
this
a
hole
lot.
now.
China does a lot of stuff in that genre that's very popular in China.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's fun. It's magical.
It
is. Other TV. So new season of
Good
Queer
TV.
Eye, which I know Queer Eye can be kind of controversial sometimes. They're not always super popular with stuff they say and do. But at the same time, I still feel like it's chicken soup for the soul. Like, even with all the problematic elements, like, there's stuff to feel good about. Like, this new season has an episode with a gay priest, and I thought that episode was really wonderful. So I don't know. I had a lot of feelings about that.
I think that they are to that point where their personalities are so distinct that anyone who's really watching isn't like, oh, all gay people think this, you know.
Yeah.
So there's enough of kind of a disparity there. But Queer Eye is one of those things where I'll just cry at the commercial. And I'm like, I can't get through an episode of this. It's just like, oh, I love it. Good times.
Lots of feelings.
The part that's not problematic, though? Antony's relationship with every dog. So
yes. Oh, there's one episode this season where they do a dog show, like a dog fashion show.
Oh, yeah.
And Anthony is just like, he's over the moon. Like, just so many dogs, and he's
just in heaven.
Yeah.
I just love Antony. He's my fave. Anyway. Yeah.
Too much of this new crap. I'm a Queer Eye purist. Not really. I just haven't been able to watch. But I have been following Jonathan Van Ness for a very long time. And so just kind of peek in and out. And so I love kind of seeing all of them together. And I like their little YouTube videos that they do. I think they have a very cool chemistry.
I think this is the first season where Jonathan has been out as non-binary. And as far as I know, Jonathan still uses he, him pronouns. I don't know if they've switched to they, them or anything, but so as far as I know, if I accidentally refer to him as he, him, that's the current thing. But he mentions it in an episode where he's like, 5 gay guys or 4 gay guys and 1 non-binary. Like, he says that in one of the episodes. This season, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is like the first filming since he came out. So that's pretty cool.
Very good.
His pronouns are he, him.
Didn't Antony go on this entire spiel about being bisexual, and people were like, Antony, no.
I don't know. Wouldn't be surprised.
It's interesting because Antony before has said that he doesn't like labels, which is interesting. Yeah.
I would say being more pan, though.
Yeah, I think so too. But I don't think he's ever actually said what his label is, and that's fine by me because labels are complicated and messy, and it's Queer Eye anyway. So
it's not gay eye. Yeah, it's Queer Eye. So.
A show that I've been watching is it just went to HBO Max this year, so it's starting its 3rd season, and that's Search Party. And it stars Alia Shawkat, and it's made by like Michael Showalter, but John Early and Jeffrey Self are in it. And this season especially, there's like a wedding being planted. So like Drew Jogi has been in Sam Pancake, these, just out queer actors. What I especially love about the show is that everything, it's very normalized, but it's normalized in a way, it's based in a reality. And so one guy, it's absolutely wild, and of course it's these hipster kids who are really just kind of terrible people. And this one guy, he lies and he was like, yeah, when I was young my parents sent me to conversion camp or whatever to convert. And he was like, but your parents are so liberal, that's so surprising. And he's like, yeah, I just really need your support right now. And then like it's just all this stuff where it's so grounded and it's so real and it's so much a part that like nobody questions it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm getting married. I talk to my boyfriend, or like, oh yeah, I slept with him last night. And it's just very much like, oh, okay, yeah, but also we killed this dude. So let's figure that out first. And I love that. I love how just real it is and how integrated and how seamless. And it's like, hey, this is normal. And I like the normalcy of it. Besides the murder
you should
plot.
go with your show first, and then we'll go to the next person.
Do
So
what?
Search Party, another show. Yeah.
I think that's the only show. The other, I did have a question. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, The Order. So I put this on, but it looks like campy goodness, and so
Did anyone watch it here? Erin?
Yes, I
You
do,
watched
and
it?
I interviewed them at Comic-Con last year too. I was in the press room.
Fun.
So yeah, I haven't watched season 2 yet because I'm still stupid watching Love Island. Luckily, I'm almost done with Love Island, so I'll be able to move on soon. So
I love it. I'm gonna have to catch up with you then.
all right,
We'll figure it out.
Jamie?
Oh yeah, okay. So I only had one more like television show, but it was 911. I know there's been issues with that recently. But
Lodestar.
that was one of the
Lodestar.
shows I recommended on an earlier webcast because I had just got into it. So yeah, one of the actors did something problematic. But this is a show that has 4 canonically queer characters that are regulars. There's been other like queer characters on there that are like in there for like an episode or 2, but there's 4 that are regulars. 2 of them are main characters, and 3 of them are black, which I think is pretty good. There's not a whole lot, like it's getting better, obviously, but usually on a television show, it's going to be the white person that's gay. Like there's going to be a gay white guy, but so you have Henrietta and Karen who are married, and that's Aisha Hines and oh man, I cannot remember her name. It's gonna kill me. She was in the Rent the movie, not the original Broadway show. But
Tracy Thoms?
Tracy Thoms, thank you. I was like, I'm
pretty
pretty sure
sure it starts with,
I was like, it starts with, I was gonna say Tessa Thompson, and I'm like, that's obviously not right, but I know it starts with 2 T's.
Oh my God, Tessa Thompson or Rent. I couldn't deal with that.
But it was like, so it's Tracy Thoms and Aisha Hines, and they're married, and they have at the beginning of the show they have 1 kid, and then they end up fostering later. There's a whole storyline where they want, like, Karen wants to get pregnant and she can't, so like that's a thing that they deal with. And then the other main character is Michael, and I don't know the actor's name. I could have Googled it. That was stupid of me. But he's actually I'm sorry, I can't remember anybody's name. This is killing me. But he's
what part does he play?
He's Athena's ex-husband. Athena, who is Angela Bassett's ex-husband. And when the show starts in season 1, like the very first episode, he's recently come out to them. Mm-hmm. They have 2 kids that are teenagers, and so it's very much like
bar.
Okay, yeah, I will take it. I was like, sure, I will take your. But it was like, so the first season is like navigating how that's gonna work now, like because he's essentially like sort of like he was in denial about being gay, and that's why he got married and they have the kids. So it's like she has to deal with that and all this kind of stuff, and so it's like how accepting should she be of the fact that he left her for another man. She's like, nobody would expect me to like smile nice at like his new woman that he left me for, you know. And so, and he gets a relationship in the first season. Then they break up, but then he like meets somebody at the end of season 3 that could lead to something. And so, like, I just really like on the show, it's because it's like, it's not a big deal. Nobody cares. It's not like, you know, they're normal because of course they are. There is one character, Josh, who works at the 911 dispatch center.
Brian Safi.
And he goes on a date and he gets attacked. Mm-hmm. And for a while you think it's because they lured him because he was gay. And it was like, actually they targeted him because they needed his ID to get into the 911 dispatch center. It's a whole thing. But so I was like, I mean, I think it's been pretty well done. Obviously this is kind of a stain on the show, not just because of love Ryan Guzman, but also the portrayal of cops. Obviously, I'm looking at any shows that I watch that like feature police heavily and how they portray the police, and so I'm starting to like rethink some of the shows that I watch.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine has skipped a few episodes because of that, but I know that they are slated for a season 8, right? So
they're completely rewrite. They're going back to the starting board of season 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm excited.
If can show the world how police should be reformed, I think Brooklyn Nine-Nine can do it.
Yeah.
That would be a good season because that's one of my favorite shows, and I was like, oh no. But I mean, they have had episodes addressing that before. I'm going on a tangent, I know, but
911 had one too, actually. Michael and his 2 kids were driving and he gets pulled over for something stupid like an tail light or something like that. And like they're very aggressive with him, obviously, because he's a big, scary black guy, and you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they actually like the son makes a move in the back seat, and one of the officers pulls a gun out, and they like it just like freak out. And so there's a whole episode with that because Athena, the ex-wife, is a cop. And so it's very like, you know, it's the dichotomy of like she's trying to be like, you know, I'm a cop too, like not all cops are bad, and it's like this kind of weird thing like. I'm not black, so I can't say how well they handled that. But it was addressed. It was a thing. And it actually came up later because their daughter is applying to colleges, and she writes her admissions essay to college is about what it's like to live with a police officer when you don't think you can respect police officers anymore. You don't actually get to read the essay, but it's a plot point that she writes it, and her mom finds out, and it's like, yeah.
Because they couldn't really write it. So they didn't show it.
Well, I mean, you know, 911 shows like that when there's so many characters and it's just like it's a plot point, but if you never spend too much time on the plot, you know, so it's like there's other stuff that has to happen in the episode.
Brian, what's his name? Brian Christopher Tyree. He's going to be on the new. Is there another 911? Coming out.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about.
911 Lone Star.
Was that Lone Star?
Yeah, I'll be talking about.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Jamie, anything else? Yeah, you have 2 more shows.
Television. No, they're all animated.
Isn't that TV?
Are we doing animated separately or not?
It's just TV. I mean,
well. Okay, well, I mean, 2 of them are
I don't
TV.
know enough about like, different categories of TV, so.
Well, because I was like, I have 2 anime and then 1 cartoon. So okay, well then I'll just keep going. So they animate like Given, obviously. Angel, of course, is having technical issues, but she would back me up on that. Given is amazing. I
says Modao Zushi.
Yeah, but we sort of already talked about that. It's the animated
version. Given, I actually did reaction videos for Given episodes on YouTube. If you guys want to check it out, I wasn't expecting it to be so much fun and so emotional. The flashbacks will make you cry. Yeah, and I was like, oh.
And it's a manga too, and the manga's ongoing. It's not a regularly published one, so you have to keep checking for updates. But there is, and there's supposed to be a movie. It's been delayed because of COVID. But the movie focuses on Hiko and Haruki, who were the two other band members. And because they have a whole story too, and Given is one of those where it was like pretty much everybody's queer in this thing. Like, you find out like Mafuyu's two friends, like they're also like queer. Like later, it just becomes, if you keep reading the manga, like everybody ends up together. It's a thing. But yeah. So
shit, I missed Given conversation.
yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm
I thought it was going to be a different category. But I'm.
We just started. You're good.
Yeah. So, Given, and
I think it was Angel. I think it was Angel who told me about Given, right? Who watched it first?
I think Jamie did.
Jamie
yeah,
was,
but
okay.
I don't know what's been said about Given. I'm sorry, but I want to second that and say that it's absolutely amazing, and I'm obsessed with it.
The music is really good. They have they're in a band, so like they play music and they have a song that Mafuyu sings. It's a big deal. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure like I think I put the song in my review, like, because it's just like great. So that's one anime, and then Stars Align, Hoshiai no Sora. I haven't finished it yet, but it's a sports anime, but not really sports. Like, it's one of those where the sports isn't really the big focus. Right. Like, that's how they know each other. But it has a non-binary character on, which is a pretty big deal for anime. That's not usually something that they do. They have a whole, like, their plot is just like sort of like discovering their gender identity. They use gender neutral pronouns. So I thought that was, and it's a pretty heavy anime. Like, they deal with stuff like the main character's dad is like super abusive, and they're like hiding from him, and he like finds them, and it's like a big, like, there's a lot of heavy stuff that goes on it. So it might not be for everybody, but it's pretty good.
Did we move on from television to anime, or
no? This is television.
Absolutely.
Like, apparently they're not separate.
Listen. You put it in the doc next time, okay? So
well, all I was doing was listing everything I wanted to talk about, so I wouldn't forget, and then everybody else did that. So I was like, I didn't categorize mine at all. But
I didn't write anything down.
Yeah, and so I have one more. Sorry, but it's The Bravest Knight, which is on Hulu. It's based on a children's book. They're little short cartoons, and so there's a main character. She's a little girl, and she has two dads. And then like one of her dads is the king, and then the other is like the knight, and like and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's adorable. It's like very wholesome, very cute. But it's I reviewed the first 5 episodes when they dropped on Hulu last year. Yes, it's definitely like a very wholesome, like happy show. It's very bright and colorful, and there's, it's a good, like, the stories are very moral. It's all about like togetherness and like kindness and all that fun stuff. So, and now I am done. Sorry.
That was great.
With television. Sorry.
Right.
So I've got 2, but one of them I'm pretty sure I can just pass on over to Aaron. Schitt's Creek. Aaron, you want to go for that? You want to talk about
great. We can talk the hour, and I still haven't caught up. It makes me so sad because I still can't figure out how to access it. But
this last season, it's hard then to talk about because it was a very gay season, and yeah, I can't spoil anything now. But anyway, the promo image for it gives it away. Anyway, there's a wedding. Sorry.
I know there's a wedding, so, and I know about David and Patrick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think the thing that makes Schitt's Creek kind of in that iconic status now is the fact that it's genre defying, if you will. It really anyone can watch it. It's not one of those that only a niche sort of people would like. older people, like parents, our parents watch it, and
Mhm.
you know, teenagers watch it, and we watch it. You know, it's people who don't necessarily like comedy, you know, they love it. And so anytime that you can have media like that and then have it so
Beloved.
I mean, yeah, it's very beloved, and a big part of Schitt's Creek is David and Patrick's relationship, and not just that relationship, but David in general, and how he expresses his sexuality and his relationships and stuff. And I think that is just, and then of course we see that whole journey with Patrick, like not even knowing that he's interested in men until he meets David. And so that's so ingrained in what the show is about that it just, I think it's one of the most important pieces of media recently, because it is, it's for everyone. And
But one thing that it also does is it kind of universalizes that experience where it allows you to poke fun at David for having these kind of eccentricities, while also recognizing that, you know, he is a person, and, you know, all humans are demanding of, you know, some modicum of respect, and he kind of gets what he gives, and you see that development as he matures and as he becomes a more kind of inherently kind person. That kindness is returned, and it's not based on his sexuality. It's just David being David. I especially love one of my favorite scenes is when dad, he's at the barbecue, and he's like, yeah, my son is pan, and he was like, yeah, it means he loves everyone. He was like, wouldn't it be easier if he did this? And wife being like, it's not a phase, dear. You know, just allowing them to have just that conversation, allowing them to have like, okay, we know you have these thoughts, and that's fine. We just need you to keep going. And it's such an easy message, but it's one that gets missed so much that, like, yeah, this person can't be the entire representation of everybody. They are them, and that's the person that you need to deal with. So yeah, I love
and
that
we've
show.
spent a lot of time talking about that in the past. I know, Angel, you're a big proponent of no one in Schitt's Creek is perfect, and everyone has flaws. And I think that is just kind of an extension of what you were just saying. Like you root for everyone because there's no one that's bad, but also not a single person is like perfect.
You don't pedestalize anyone, right?
Yeah,
No
yeah,
one's like,
it's just
put on as perfection.
Yeah, and that's what makes it more realistic, in my opinion, and therefore easier to grasp these things, these issues that, you know, maybe people don't deal with on a regular basis. So
the person whose house I'm staying in right now, I got her into Schitt's Creek, and she like binge watched the whole thing. So Erin, you got me into it, and then I got her into it. And she just got a shirt today that has a glass of red and a glass of white wine and says, "I like both." Like, because we went out today because I'm staying with her for a while, and like she stopped at the mailbox and opened up the package and was like, look, it's really great. So Schitt's Creek, I think everyone should watch it. I'm glad I've spread it to a few people. You know, I'm glad you spread it to me. I feel like it is for everyone, no matter what you're into. If you're into drama, you'll still like this. You know, whatever you're into, you'll find something in Schitt's Creek to love.
Well, and I've never heard, going on for that, I've never heard somebody stop watching it because of the queer storylines, you know?
Yeah.
And so, or really for any reason. I think everybody's just like, this is just good. So anyway, let's move on from Schitt's Creek.
So I have another one, and it's one I haven't seen yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And I don't know when it'll ever come out. It was supposed to come out this year, but as soon as I tell you what it is, you'll understand why I'm doubtful. The Stand. I'm thinking maybe it's not going to be a 2020 thing, but it's just a little bad timing. But apparently,
Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah, but apparently there's a character in the upcoming adaptation of it that's bisexual, Dana Jurgens, which I can't even remember her being bisexual in the book or in the previous adaptation, and I had no idea, but apparently that's going to be part of the story. And I'm like, I had no idea.
I still haven't finished Castle Rock. I need to finish that.
But that's been on lists of like LGBTQ plus stuff to watch out for in 2020, and now it's like maybe I'll be delayed a bit.
Maybe not.
It's a bad kind of bad timing.
Like, this is a thing that will eventually exist. We don't know when.
Like, I don't know.
Kind of like the COVID vaccine. It'll be a thing that eventually exists. But when?
I feel so bad
I
because
just brought the whole thing down. I'm sorry.
It's okay. The Stand was my favorite book for a long, long time. And as soon as this COVID thing started kicking up, I started making jokes, like Captain Trips jokes and stuff. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. And now it's like,
it's coming back to bite you.
We're in deep shit. Like, so, I don't know. It's jinxed. It jinxed us. Having this remake jinxed us. But anyway, if they really do play up the bisexuality of that character in the adaptation, that'll be really good, because it doesn't make any sense that, like, there would be none among the survivors. I mean, even The Walking Dead has, like, a lot of queer characters. Of course, they keep killing them. But, so, yeah, let's make it a little more realistic this time around.
Yeah. Any anime recommendation, Angel?
Well, I was going to do an anime section and talk about Given, but we have already covered that. I have no other current ones that are going on other than Given. But once we get down to the...
And I think we are waiting for a Given movie, and we are waiting for a Yuri on Ice movie.
Yeah, we're waiting on the Yuri on Ice movie, but I feel like that's going to also get delayed, because that was supposed to come out in 2019, and then it didn't. And then they're like, how about 2020? And then pandemic. We're never going to get it.
My recommendation...
Well, you think that because that's animes, you'd think they'd be able to figure out a way to record that remotely.
They started up production again on some anime, because Fugo Kaiji, which is not technically gay, but I ship the main characters, so it's gay in my heart.
All anime is gay. What are you talking about?
They showed... I know, basically. But they showed the first 2 episodes, and then they had to stop because of the pandemic. But it's coming back at the end of July, so clearly, somehow, they're able to continue. And I can't wait, because that was a good show.
Yeah, the thing about anime is that it's different in Japan than it is in America. In America, voice actors record separately. In Japan, they record together. So they probably did not want to have the voice actors all together. So I can sort of understand that, and also like not knowing what equipment they need, like if they could actually even like work really from home. I know some anime wasn't delayed, but also that's probably because it was mostly done. Because like I watched Fruits Basket, and that's like one of the only spring animes that wasn't delayed at all. Like that's still going. But I also think it was like largely done. So without knowing like the production schedules and like how far in advance they actually like do the episode, it's just very...
Fugo Kaiji frustrated me though, because they're like, we have 3 episodes, and then after the 3rd episode, we're gonna do a break and come back in July.
And then they never aired the 3rd episode.
Yeah, and so we're all just like, hello, you said there were 3. Where's number 3?
I remember that like the Thursday when that episode was supposed to come out, being like, what the hell? Wasn't there supposed to be a 3rd? Like, air the 3rd episode? Like,
they announced that they would, and then they just didn't.
And then they didn't.
Hell.
My recommendations, of course, I would like everyone to go and watch Roswell, New Mexico. No, just kidding.
So funny.
Don't make us tormented on Twitter again, please.
I'm waiting
I don't think people watch our webcasts. I think
I'm waiting for the messiness ban to like lift, so that I can like go full
Oh
in.
God, that creator of Roswell is going to be the next Jeff Davis or
Jeff
Reed.
We were just talking about that yesterday.
Well, if you're ever going in a press room for that show, you are kidding yourself. I am never doing that. I had the opportunity
I'll go. I'll go and be like,
to
hey.
New York Comic Con, and I was like, "You're not getting me in that."
You know,
I was like, "I'm not doing that to myself."
when Fareed gets to North America and
He can do the press room. So.
we need to give you a press badge and send you into these press rooms so they can tell you hello in person. Like you don't have to
I'll be
read the
like,
messages
I'm
anymore.
here.
Oh, you wanna say
Hello.
hello to
My
There he
dreams
is.
are just fine, thank you.
But yeah, on a serious note, I would recommend 911 Lone Star. It's a spin-off of the 911 franchise, and I have been doing reaction videos for it on the Geekiary YouTube if you guys want to check it out. And it has a whole lot of queer representation, and it's one of the major shows that actually represents trans men in it. Because even though we do have a whole lot
Right.
of, not a whole lot of, but comparatively more trans women represented in media, there isn't a whole lot of trans men representation. So, that character is one of the leads in the ensemble. Then there are two gay guys in there, and it's kind of messy because, of course, it's a Ryan Murphy show. So, but yeah, but when
The
it comes to
messiness is built in.
so when it comes to representation, it's good, it's fun. And then on Netflix we have Toy Boy. It's a Spanish show, and it's about strippers who end up getting involved in a murder investigation. And during the promotional content, they showed that two of them were going to be queer. But as I was watching the show, it turned out that basically everyone is queer. Even the main male lead is queer. He'll like hook up with everyone if he wants to. And I was like, yeah, that's the kind of representation that I want to see. That don't tell me from the beginning that this person is queer. Let it evolve naturally and show that he is like fluid or whatnot. So Toy Boy, if you guys want to check it out. Then of course, Penny Dreadful, City of Angels. I am covering this show, and I enjoyed Penny Dreadful season number 1 because it was amazing when it came to queer representation, and it wasn't forced. It was just like, yeah, that character is queer too. He's queer too. She's queer too. Everyone is queer. Yeah. And Penny Dreadful City of Angels is following the same format where a whole lot of people who you wouldn't even think are queer are, no, surprise, they're queer too. Deal with it.
They're doing what Black Sails did. It's like they sucker you in thinking you're going to get a manly pirate show, and everybody's queer. Yeah, it's like reverse rating.
Black Sails.
Yeah, like, oh, welcome to this
The
very
best.
heterosexual show. Just kidding.
Just kidding. Everybody's queer.
That's fun. And the other show that I'm covering is Snowpiercer. It has Daveed Diggs from Hamilton in it. It has Jennifer Connelly in it. So yeah, it's basically based on the Snowpiercer novel and the movie, but it's doing its own thing. And surprise, basically everyone is queer on the Snowpiercer.
Interesting. Yeah, because I recently
Really?
watched the Snowpiercer movie because I'm going through a Bong Joon-ho's movies. Like, I'm just getting really into them all of a sudden. And the movie doesn't really have any representation, I don't think. So it's interesting here the show does, but the movie was
There's this theory that the murderer, that the killer guy,
Tarina's got good taste.
supposed to be here in the movie.
I don't remember.
Yeah, the TV show makes it clear that that person is queer. He's queer too. She's queer too. She's in a triple. Yeah, and she was Daveed Diggs' ex-girlfriend. Blah blah blah. The character he's playing, and yeah, everyone is queer on the Snowpiercer. So deal with it. Basically, queer people can survive the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, if you have your limited options, if everyone in the world is living on a train, then
Yeah.
You know.
What's left?
And Snowpiercer because it is a dangerous show, I was like, you all have so many queer people that even if some of them die, I wouldn't care. Like,
And that's the important thing, like, because there's the trope, bury your gays, and that's problematic because usually there's like one gay character.
Exactly.
But when you have a fleshed out cast with like a dozen, if you kill one, that's fine.
You're just killing a character. You're not killing the gay character.
Yeah. Also, the other show would be Harley Quinn, the animated series on DC Universe. Now, season 1, I watched it and I was like, you know what? This is straight washed. I don't care. I don't want to watch it. And then fans came at me on Twitter. They were like, no, they're going to explore the Harley and Ivy situation in season 2. You have to watch it. And I did. And it's amazing. And you all need to watch it.
Sharina commented in our comments, you need to limit breeders on an ice train. That's true. There's very limited space. You already have the people in the back of the train eating bugs, which, by the way, I ate that bug bar at Comic-Con. It was actually pretty good. But anyway, and like, yeah, it's a good point. Limited space.
I'll take your word for it.
They're like sterilizing people on the train. So yeah, that's happening. Yeah. Also, Harley Quinn, check it out if you guys are fans of Harley and Ivy's relationship. It's amazing. Very well done. The other show that I watched is Future Man on Hulu, and it stars Josh Hartnett. What's his name?
No. Josh Hutcherson. Josh Hutcherson.
Peter. No. Gail. Peter.
Hutcherson.
There we go.
I have no idea.
I'm Team Gail.
I did the press room for the first season when they came to New York Comic Con. So it's Josh Hutcherson. Yeah.
And I wasn't expecting it, but Future Man is another show where it's like, surprise, everyone's queer. Even
because I wanted to watch it because they showed the pilot at New York Comic Con and it was like, I loved it. And then I just never watched it. And so it was like,
yeah, I might give it another chance.
Because when I was watching the promotional material and I was watching the couple of first episodes, I was like, why is everyone straight? Like, where's the queer characters? And it was like, the main lead, he's queer. The other two leads, they're queer too. Yay!
Okay.
Is that they sucker you in again, and then they're like, surprise, everybody's gay.
Josh's character in season 3, that's the final season. He actually has this entire fantasy relationship with James Dean, and it's like, what happening?
Wait, the actor or the porn star?
What?
The actor or the porn star?
The actor, okay. James Dean, not the porn star James Dean.
We said it so like what?
That's like, this is a show that he goes back in time. That is a valid question to ask.
So he goes back and he's with James Dean, and they have this entire romantic relationship going on. And I wasn't expecting it, but yeah, everyone's queer on that show. If you guys want to watch it,
I'll have to bump that up to my list.
I might give it another chance then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
it's on Hulu, right?
It's on Hulu. It's done. Only 3 seasons. It was apparently too expensive to make.
That's great.
Or no.
It did look like a pretty expensive show.
Yeah, it is. It does look like an expensive show. And then we have from the amazing Lena Waithe, we have Boomerang, and we have 20s. I covered both of these shows
21.
on the Geekiary. And Boomerang, if you guys want to see well-written bisexual representation that doesn't follow any of the tropes where a bisexual guy would like sleep with anything that breathes, even if he is already in a committed relationship, watch Boomerang. It talks about bisexuality in POC males, especially a Black bisexual man, and how he kind of handles his own toxic masculinity that's inside of him because of the society he grew up in. That's great. And then 20s is basically a semi-autobiography of Lena Waithe herself. So the lead character in 20s is basically a young lesbian who is trying to make it big in Hollywood. And that's an amazing show in itself. It's fun. A whole lot of representation when it comes to Lena Waithe, and a whole lot of diversity in the cast. So Yeah, Boomerang has 2 seasons, and 20s has only 1 season, which debuted this year.
I think it's my turn. Don't worry, I don't have very many things. And I don't go quite as deep cut as some of these other people do, you know? So you probably have already all heard of these things. The first thing I want to talk about is Harlots, the show on Hulu. And it is another, yeah, Fareed watches it too. And it is another one of those shows where pretty much no one is straight.
Everyone's
and which is funny because it's about prostitutes in like 1800s. I don't know when. Yeah, like a while ago in the past. And it has even had like the 2 of the leads in a same-sex relationship. And so it's, I don't know, it's a really interesting show, but it does give a lot of good representation because it's just like no one is it's a lot of gray area in the sexuality, let's just say. Lots of fluidity there. It's a good one. Of course, I can't talk about TV without bringing up The Magicians, of course. As we know, I've talked about this a lot lately because I finally watched it again. I started it when it first came out, and then I was like, wow, this is really dumb. And then I stopped watching it, and then one of my best friends is like, you got to watch this. It's my favorite show. So I gave it like a good try, and now it's like my favorite show, and I'm probably going to rewatch it again very shortly. Again, lots of really good representation. One of the main characters, Elliot, is very fluid all across the spectrum, and he has a lot of good relationships with everyone. And of course, my OTP, Quentin and Elliot, is...
See, I haven't caught up that much yet to get to them, but I can't stand Quentin. It's just like
you will. Believe me, I feel you there. I feel you there.
I'm looking forward to it.
he's a little bit of a drip in the beginning, especially. That's really the only way I can think of him. He's just like a wet blanket. But he grows on you, and by the time that Quentin and Elliot kind of have this alternate, they kind of go into like an alternate reality and have a relationship that lasts like decades. Yeah, and by the time you get there, you're just like, oh my God,
on board.
And then they go back to the actual timeline, and they're like, you know, it's like it never happened. They don't remember it. They're young again. And then all of a sudden, like later on in the show, they remember a key piece of when they were together, the peaches and plums. Fareed, you're just like, great influence. And then they remember it, and they're like,
go ahead.
They're like, oh my gosh, you know, they remember being together. And it's weird because like before that, they were questioning whether they should get together or not in like a real timeline, but then they realized that they had already been together in this alternate timeline, and so then they're like, it's proof positive that it works. And it's just like, oh God.
Serena says Q with Elliot is the best Q. It's like, yep, I can believe that.
That is true. When he's with Elliot, he is the best Quentin. And the last thing I want to mention, go ahead.
Todd from there is in the order, right?
Yep.
There we go. Okay, so I was like, I knew there was some weird connection. That's not really a connection, but
it's all that
smile.
Canadian actor swap thing. So yeah, they're all in the same shows. The last thing I want to mention is Stranger Things. Introduced a queer character in this past season 3. Again, Stranger Things, Robin. Yeah. Ooh, I just lost my earbud.
And they sort of imply that Will might be something other than straight.
Well, Will, I think it's always been implied that Will is not
straight.
the typical
The special
straight.
boy.
Yeah, we don't really know what he is, not just in sexual orientation, but also maybe a little bit in gender identity. So I don't want to speculate too far because I do think that could be, I just don't know. But yeah, as far as Robin goes, again, Stranger Things is one of those shows that everybody loves it. You know, a lot of people have seen it. And so by just kind of nonchalantly introducing Robin as a queer character was really cool to me, because this whole time, first of all, I wasn't going into season 3. I was like, I don't think I'm going to like Robin. She's just like weird. And then as soon as she showed up, I was like, I love Robin. And of course, you're like thinking that she's going to get with Steve the whole time, because they click. They have such great chemistry. And but then that
bros.
yeah, that season or the scene in the last episode was just like, dude, I like girls. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's cool. So yeah, and so I think that, again, it's just so like normal that it feels like a non-issue, which is really the way that it should be. And so we'll see how big of a role Robin has in season 4. But I liked that addition in season 3. So
yeah.
I was actually waiting for
season 4 yet?
No release date, no nothing.
Not yet.
4.
Okay.
I was waiting for the teacher to come out, the kid's teacher. I was like, okay, he's not. Okay, he's straight. Okay, I guess he is.
Well, he wouldn't be openly queer because in the 80s he would not have been employed.
He would have been fired.
So.
No, but they kind of showed him with a girlfriend in season 1 or season 2. I was like, okay, so I guess he's not supposed to be a queer character.
Girlfriend.
Yeah, but let's see what happens. Also, Billy, I have no idea why people came at me because I said that I didn't like Billy.
I can't stand Billy.
Like,
so many dislikes on my reaction video for the finale. People were
like, he redeemed himself. He was like, he really did it. He was terrible for T to be.
There's some weird Billy defenders out there, and they are vicious. Like, oh my god, what the hell? Like,
I guess my video has like 50 dislikes on it because people didn't like the fact that I didn't like Billy. I wasn't emotional when he died. I was like, good riddance, Billy.
There must be some like Billy fan club where they shared the link to your video and like mass downloaded it. Because how else could they find it? Like,
exactly.
Well, I think a lot of people were maybe projecting their feelings that Max had for Billy. And so that's maybe why they were like, oh, Billy. I could not care less, really. So,
or maybe they were fans of the actor who played Billy.
Friends, please upvote this video because we're gonna get mass downvoted again by these Billy people. They're gonna share this link in their chat, and
as long as like Stranger Things isn't in the like, we don't mention it in the
they'll never
find
it.
Like, it should be okay.
He's the poor man's Zac Efron, and I was budget that Zac Efron.
I mean, he's Australian and he does a pretty good American accent. That's about the best I can say.
He would be so much better as an Australian. I would take his character much more as an Australian. I'm like, I can't deal with you, sir.
Inexplicably Australian.
Exactly.
Just don't explain it. He's Australian and we just don't mention it.
I wanted to... are we done with TV? Because I wanted to add in a couple of queer podcasts.
Oh yeah,
for 2020.
Podcast. Yep.
So, as you guys know, I'm a big podcast nerd and still very much am. This year, a podcast. It might have started late last year, but it's called Ask Rana and Brian. There's this comedy duo, Rana Glickman and Beverly. I forget Beverly's last name, but they have this thing called Rana and Beverly. Well, Rana is separated off, and she has this podcast called Ask Rana with Brian Safi, who plays Josh in 911. And so it's kind of like an advice podcast, and they do very kind of high end, low end. You know, she's like in a probably a middle-aged woman, very kind of well-to-do, and so everything is about class and excuse me and fabulous and that kind of stuff. And it's very campy. It's very fun. They have a film club and a book club and just all kinds of fun stuff. So definitely check that out. Love It or Leave It. John Lovett, not the critic, not It Stinks, but the former Obama speechwriter. He has a political podcast, and I actually went to one of their live shows here, and it's just a lot of fun. It's politics soaked with a lot of humor, but it is very like deep level politics, like. You know, it used to be for politics, I could be like, I have elected a representative so they can care about politics for me. But now in this current climate, we really have to understand politics for ourselves. And that's one of the podcasts that I find helps in a way that I can actually ingest it. There's also Las Culturistas. It's Bo and Yang and Matt Rogers. Oh my goodness. Matt Rogers and Dave Mazzoni. They have a show on Quibi called The Game Show, GAYME. And straight people compete for the opportunity to be gay AF. And so that's a lot of fun. And it's just very out and proud. There's Keep It with Ira Madison, Louis Vertel, and I don't know if she's an official co-host, Aida, and I'm forgetting her last name. But anyhow, that's fantastic. The Read, I talk about The Read constantly. Kid Fury Crystals, just wonderful, just queer content. And then that's not even touching the surface of the audio drama podcast. So whatever genre of podcasts that you're looking for, there is amazing queer content out there that is being curated. And then the Two Princes, I had done an interview with the creator last week. HBO actually picked them up to series, and so I know with the pandemic some stuff has been delayed, but they're still moving forward with that, so a lot of good to come.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, just for time, let's Jamie, what?
I have a book. Like, somebody else put books down. I have a book. Sorry, I only have one.
No.
It's I actually reviewed it when it came out in September. It's There Will Come a Darkness. It's like the apocalypse is coming. Blah blah blah. It's an excellent story. It's going to be a trilogy. The second one is coming out later this year. Several of the main characters are queer, and actually like one of them is like his sacred duty is to like defend the prophet, and he sort of like messes it up so that he can go after the man he's in love with. So it's like it's an amazing book. It's one of the books that I read and I was like, I need everybody ever to read this book so that we can talk about it right now. So There Will Come a Darkness. It's by Katie Rose Gould.
Fun.
See, I don't even think about books. So sorry.
I think we can go from the current year of queer stuff to our recommendations now.
Yeah, let's Angel, I know you have like 4 things, but can you either choose one or be quick?
I can be quick.
Okay. Recommendations.
I already talked about Yuri on Ice, so I don't need to go over that too much. I already talked about Mo Daozushi, don't have to go over that much. You all know about Sense8. If you haven't watched Sense8, clearly you need to, which leaves my one last one, Hannibal. Yes, it's queer in my heart, and it's basically explicit. Like, I mean, as the show goes on, they start to use the word love and stuff like that, and it ends with them embracing, like, come on. But it's one of those weird shows that kind of straddles that line. So I don't know. But I've been rewatching it, almost done with it, so that's my recommendation.
Hannibal just had a live read that I heard was fantastic. Did you check that out?
I haven't had a chance yet because of my apartment disaster the past 3 days.
Yeah.
haven't been
Oh,
able to do
Teen
it.
Wolf, Stacy, Teen Wolf left the chat.
Who?
Teen Wolf left the chat when you said
Yeah.
that. The reading was good.
Ah, I heard it
There
was
was a Teen Wolf reunion the other day.
yeah.
Yeah.
What? Reunion?
That is not queer content.
No.
Oh man.
I'm gonna very quickly say that I don't have a recommendation because I'm still watching Love Island, but I put here I am basically within 3 days of being done with Love Island, and that is
You will
1, 2,
never
5.
be done with
That's
Love
7.
Island.
That's 7 seasons, guys, that I've watched since quarantine started, and each season has like between 35 and 55 episodes that are an hour each.
Why would you put yourself through that?
I'm a professional TV watcher, so
You should have been
I'm
doing a
almost done.
podcast for that. Just
I feel like-
documenting your
yeah,
journey.
it's been a ride. Not a lot of queer content, but some. But that's why I don't want to recommend it. I'm just telling you that's what I've been doing.
I feel like your Love Island is like how me and Jamie are with our Chinese like Xianja stuff right now, where it's every week we're like, y'all know, we're back at this shit.
Still watching this.
Every week. We're still doing it.
I'm almost done though. I will be done by the time we have our next webcast. Okay.
Jamie, recommendation?
Yeah, so this is like the regular recommendation for me. It's not queer. But it's a webtoon. It's one I haven't done for the Wednesday webcomics yet, just because I'm not sure it's like sort of for everybody, but it started getting I've been reading it for a while. Obviously, like I follow it every week. And it's just like got like super adorable. So but it's called True Beauty. And it's basically about this like teenage girl, and she lives like a double life in the sense that she's really, really good with makeup. And like when she wears makeup and she looks like a completely different person, like people don't recognize her when she doesn't have makeup on.
Hannah Montana.
And so like it's really cute. There's sort of like a love triangle in there. But like it's like a well done love triangle because everybody's very respectful, like they're all friends, and it's sort of like it was like they had the two, like she had a crush on this one guy, and then he moved away, and she ended up dating another guy that they were friends with, and then the other guy comes back, and he still likes her, but she's with this other guy. So it's just very much like everybody's very respectful, everybody's like super adorable, and it's amazing art. Like her art is just like what the webtoon artists sometimes do a challenge while they're draw characters from other they try to draw characters from their comics in the styles of other comics, and everybody was like, when it came to that one, they're like, how the hell do you draw like this? And it is not possible for like a human to do this. It's very, very pretty. It's on webtoon.
Okay, I don't have a recommendation. It's like go read Titan's Bride if you want to know if you can bottom for a giant.
Fareed's comment in the document literally says meh. So.
I'm going to kind of reformat my recommendation. I was originally going to talk about the All Black Lives Matter March, which was kind of a combination of a Black Lives Matter March and Pride. And I'm changing my recommendation. We have about a week left. Yeah, about a week left in the month. There are so many virtual Pride events that are happening where there are online drag shows, online concerts. John Lovett of Cricket Media's the Love It or Leave It, he hosted a virtual Pride the other day that had a lot of, so New York just, oh Lord, these what I'm about to say is going to sound like gobbledygook because I only half know what I'm saying. But a lot of queer representation just came out of New York in terms of Congress and Senate and elections. Black POC, Afro-Latino queer representatives were elected. And I also think out of Kentucky. I'm telling you, y'all.
Well,
when I tell you I was under a rock
they won
for
their
politics.
primaries.
Yeah, they won
Like,
the primary.
Yeah.
Primaries,
So, yeah.
thank you. Yes.
But let's be real. This is New York. Democrats usually don't lose New York.
Well, yeah, and so that's fingers and toes crossed because this year has already thrown us through a doozy. So, but yes, Billy Porter has an event coming up. Just go on Instagram, find the gay stars, and they will tell you where to celebrate the rest of the month because there is a lot going on. There's a drag show that's going to be happening later on today. So definitely go and check in and really support these events. I know one thing that I think is important to point out is, me and Free talked about this yesterday. There was a certain incredibly ill-informed gay pundit on Twitter who was like, "Hey, blacks, this isn't your month. This is your month. Sign the gays." And so, oh no, honey, that ain't us. Don't do that. And it's like I love that more people are bringing attention to how the gay community, which of course has black people, of course, has really kind of expanded and just kind of integrated both movements and saying, hey, our movement wouldn't have been huge without the help of people of color and black people. And so,
Stonewall was started by black trans women.
exactly.
If you how are you gay and aren't aware of
They
that?
threw the first brick, and
Well,
that's
exactly.
I mean, that person was a white gay, so it wasn't. It wasn't.
But I feel like it's a very
a lot of things
Pride because it is making it so that we have to remember how Pride started. Because
yes.
as Pride has evolved, it has become very corporate and very like the white gays and
the Stonewall movie.
And now it's
the Stonewall movie was like.
Don't talk about it. It
well,
was
no,
a,
the movie had a white guy throwing the brick, and people were like,
yeah.
And so it's like, I think it's so important to learn that true history so that we can share in that pride and really expand it and make sure that everybody gets kind of what they want out of it. So that's why I'm loving that people are like, I know we're inside. I know Corona thought that she was going to take away our joy. We are still going to do it and still push forward.
Stacey, you attended one of the Pride events, the BLM Pride events or something.
Mm-hmm. I went to a bunch. So there's lots of I had the cutest outfit. I'll have to show you guys later. But it's it was so wonderful seeing the mix, and you could kind of tell there was that initial unease on both sides of the gay population, like, are we going to be able to party, or is this going to be like a somber event? And then the black people were like, are they going to remember that that this is supposed to be for everybody, because everybody wants to be heard. And the way that it came together, I mean, talk about chromatica. It was great, because you're thinking like, what, 50,000 people are in this area, and so there's a point where the people in the front who have the microphones, you can't hear them, when you're like 6 blocks back. And so every section had their own thing going on. And we would go through the sections, and you hear Chromatica over here. Then you hear like the old school, like Cyndi Lauper, Madonna, and that kind of thing. And it was wonderful. It was such a cool event.
Excellent.
So support your local gays.
Let's briefly do some quarantine shout outs. It looks like there's only a couple. So let's run through those really quick. What positive things have you seen or random things to mention about quarantine?
Okay, I have 2. One is personal and one is like geek related. So my personal one is that my older sister is a nurse, a frontline nurse in Arizona, which has become like the hotspot now. And she actually like took additional training so that she could work on the COVID wards, because they're like super shorthanded. So just please, everybody, like, keep her in your thoughts because my sister is amazing. And the geek one is that like Variety has done this series. I don't know if it's recent because of the quarantine or if they had it before, but it's Actors on Actors, where they have like two actors and they like interview each other. And the one that they just posted a couple days ago was Paul Rudd and Chris Evans. And so it's 45 minutes of awesome. Like it is just like
wonderful.
It's great. Like so yes, definitely there's a whole thing about Chris Evans asking how Paul Rudd doesn't age. And at one point Paul Rudd like puts on the Infinity Gauntlet and just like, you know, acts like it's not there. It's great. It's on Variety's YouTube page. So
oh, fun.
You also forgot, Jamie, the best part about your in the comments for talking about your sister.
Wear a mask.
Yeah.
Wear
a mask.
Like, forgive my language, but wear a fucking mask. Like, and wash your hands.
Yep.
Two things, both alike in dignity. So simple, and yet people want to be so dramatic about it. You know, I was talking because someone said, you know, oh, there's a way that you can minimize the risk of COVID by 70%. It's like, and it's called putting a piece of cloth in front of your face.
Yeah, called wearing a damn mask.
It's just some woman was talking about, oh, it's infringing on my liberty to breathe the fresh air, and I was like, first of all, you're in LA, so you need to calm down with that. But second of all, I know she's got 4 different Brita filler pitchers in her fridge, plus a filter on her thing. So I was like, but we can't drink God's given water or breathe God's given air, and it's like, it's not safe. Like, what are you doing? You filter everything else, but you can't filter this. And then they'll be like, I have a breathing problem. I'm like, then why are you yelling?
Like, if you really had a breathing problem, you wouldn't be out.
Exactly. Like, why are you here? So in conclusion, arrest the cops that murdered Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yes.
All right. There was one other shout out in here. Stacey, was that you?
Well, yeah, my brother-in-law, he is an administrator of a nursing home, and it's the one that's like right next to the reservation. And so they literally get COVID tests like a couple of times a day, once at the beginning, once at the end, and then they have to quarantine the workers that come up that have gotten tested, and then so it's just this constant swap out, and he's just like, he was just completely fried because everything is so low staffed, and then the staff that they have are either in quarantine or they're sick. And so just really good thoughts and prayers for anybody just in those situations, and there are a lot of people who are in those situations kind of all across the country. So
yeah,
yes, thank you to
and
your loved ones.
to the situation. Right,
sure.
Exactly.
All right. We're going to skip talking about what we're going to watch next time, even though we have maybe Top Secret per Jamie's request from last time. And also, I was thinking maybe we could watch Hamilton, but we don't know. So we are taking next weekend off because...
Wait, we got to.
Yeah. Well, we might. I don't know. I just thought about it. We are taking next weekend off because it is the 4th of July holiday, and we've been doing these forever, so we're going to take weekend off. I do have a question, though. What is your personal, most iconic queer media of all time? It's a deep question. I'm going to go first because I already have an answer. I'll let you guys think about it for a minute. Mine is the musical Rent. That is something that... I discovered, I think, when I was in high school. And for me, it kind of just transformed how I thought about, everybody, like, at least for me, like, when I heard about the character Angel, like, Angel was just one of those iconic characters that you think about all the time, or at least for me. And so Rent was definitely sorry if you can hear my cat. She's scratching right next to me. So, but yeah, Rent definitely. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Somebody else talk now, please.
But I'm a Cheerleader is mine. But we watched it already, so I don't have much more to add. But that was a defining moment for me, and helped me discover who I am. So I'm very grateful for it.
Mine is very trite, but it was the U.S. version of Queer as Folk.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was the first series where it was the first time I ever recapped a show, and really dealt with fandom before I truly knew what fandom was. And so it was just at that kind of penultimate time where I was like, this is something I can talk about other people with, because like that was not a thing. So it was really cool. It was a really cool moment, and yeah, I still love it. Guilty, Lily, now.
Mine is, I think I've talked about it, Brokeback Mountain.
Oh,
I remember when the Oscar promotion was coming out, ads were being shown on TV. I was like, who are these cowboys and why are they in love? I need to watch this movie. This is an Oscar-winning movie. I need to watch this. And I was like, I can watch it. Like, my parents won't mind because it's an Oscar-winning movie. It's not like I'm going out of my way to watch a queer movie. And I remember I was coming out. We had a death in the family, and we were all at his funeral. And because we were like, I was like maybe 16. Yeah, I was 16 at the time. And I had my younger brother with me, and my mom was like, you guys don't have to stay here. You guys can go home. And she gave us money for a taxi to drive us home. And that money was the equal amount of money that was needed to buy the Brokeback Mountain DVD.
yeah.
I was like, So I was with my little brother. I was like, bro, we can literally walk home from here. We don't have to go on a taxi. So we started walking. We made a detour. We went to the DVD shop, bought a DVD, walked back home, and then I gave him the money because I had money at home. So I gave him the money, and I was like, you know what? Go and get yourself something to eat.
That's a sweet story.
And because my parents were at the funeral, I put the DVD into the DVD player. And the TV was here. I was watching Brokeback Mountain, and my little brother was playing on the computer, and the computer was like 2 feet like to the side. And I had no idea, because I didn't have access to IMDb, about what kind of content was going to be.
That's amazing.
And the movie was playing, and I was like, what the heck? And my brother was playing the computer, and he was like, what are you watching?
It's like they're wrestling. They're wrestling.
It was a mess.
Oh, that is
But I
great.
watched an entire 2-hour plus movie that night before the other family members came home. And of course, after watching it for the first time, I was a mess.
Everything changed.
I was like, why did I watch it? Why did I put myself through this? This is not good. I need to watch it again. Go through the emotional turmoil.
That's how I feel about The Magicians. Like, I want to watch it again, but I know I'm just gonna cry, so it's gonna hurt. Jamie,
I rewatched Brokeback recently. It's on HBO, and like literally got to that 2.5 hour mark, and I was like, it's all going downhill from here.
It's like
I can't
over. That's sort of like like Titanic. Titanic was 2 videotapes. It's like stop after tape 1.
Yeah. That was a Brokeback Mountain story that I'll remember for the rest of my life, and my younger brother will remember for the rest of my life. We walked to the DVD store, got the DVD, and walked back home. And my mom and my parents thought we got home on a taxi because they literally paid the money for it.
That's amazing. He said, go get some food. I love it.
all right, Jamie, you looked like you were thinking hard about this one.
It's really hard for me to think of something, because a lot of the stuff that's like important for me in the sense of queer identity is not actually queer media. It was like fan fiction of like
fine.
not canonically queer characters. So
that's that's queer culture, fan fiction, especially.
Okay. Well, so I have two in the sense that it was actually like reading a Steric fanfic that made me realize that I was asexual, because that's not something that I had ever really seen anywhere. So I didn't realize that was a thing that I could identify as.
Oh wow. Yeah.
But and then also like I you would not recognize me if you met like 18-year-old me, because I grew up in a rural area. I have very conservative parents. We had very conservative friends. It was, yeah. So I didn't really like, although like queer characters, like that was never really something that I was like, that I personally had a problem with. Like I have friends from high school that were gay. You knew they were gay, but you didn't know they were gay, you know, because nobody was out in that kind of environment. But I had a problem having like in early fandoms with slash shippers. Like in the first couple fandoms that I was in, they were like the assholes. Like it was like, I have talked before. I know you guys laughed that I was in the CSI New York fandom, but like that was actually a big thing in the CSI New York fandom, is that like my ship was Danny and Lindsay, and they were the canon ship, and there was people that shipped Danny with Flack, who was the detective on there, and that was like the big slash ship, and they were like the people that shipped that like ran all the CSI New York like message boards, and they hated Danny Lindsay and like the shippers, and like so it was like a big thing. And so I sort of like based all my opinion of slash shipping on those interactions. Like these people are terrible, so everybody must be terrible. And obviously that's not true. And I know that now, you know, 15 years later, but like that's not something you think about when you're first getting into this kind of stuff. So, but I was like, my first slash ship, you guys are gonna laugh me again with this, but I don't believe in being embarrassed, was Drake and Josh. Drake and Josh.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
But that was the first.
That's amazing.
Like, that was the first like queer ship that I looked at and was like, I get that, you know, because it was like a lot of them. I feel like it didn't make sense when you look at them on TV. I'm like, they like never interact. How can you tell? Like, and that was the one that I was like, no, I get that. I buy that. Yeah. So fan fiction. Yep. And also
That's
a friend
awesome.
of mine wrote Drake and Josh fic. That's how. So I was, because it's like, she wrote really big with the step siblings for me, because like she wrote Derek Casey stuff from Life with Derek, their step siblings. And so like I read all of her Derek Casey stuff, and then like I started reading the Drake Josh stuff, and they're also step siblings. It's a thing. It was a thing that I went through. But yeah, it's fan fiction for me, because like just growing up where I did, and I really didn't explore basically until I was in my late 20s. Like, so
Well, before
like,
fan fiction, there was Nifty, and that was my entry. Yeah.
So these were our stories.
Yeah, this has been a shockingly personal webcast.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry I asked such a personal, deep question, but I thought it was a good one. So
It's good.
It's very dark here, as you can see. The sun is down. Yeah. Anyway, I think we're gonna wrap it up in case anybody has any last. Okay, we're fine. We are taking next weekend off again, so cool.
So they get an extra long one before the break.
Yes. So you know, this has been our crossover event. Yay!
Yay!
I'm Erin, along with Admin Angel, Jamie, Stacy, Fareed. Thank you again Who do we lose?
Jamie's
We just lost
here.
Jamie. He's like, I'm out of here. Bye. Thank you
Bye.
again for joining us for Feelings with the Geekiary and the Queer Geek Cast crossover. Remember, we're a free webcast run off of donations from viewers like you. Thanks for contributing and helping our host site, the Geekiary.
Patreon.
And and we will see you next time, whenever that will be. I don't know. We'll let you know. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.